Hello. Jaslyn, can you hear me? You're on mute.
Yes, I can.
Hi, Dr. Jaslyn. How are you?
Good, all good. Nice to meet you guys.
This is Melinda Roy. I'm the host for this third day event, the Virtual Summit 2025. So, welcome on stage. So, before you start your presentation, I would like to introduce you to the audience, who you are and your accomplishments. So, Dr. Jaslyn is on stage. So Dr. Jaslyin is a marketing strategist and consultant with expertise spanning B2B and B2C marketing, social selling, brand profiling, martech, and digital transformation across the Asia Pacific. The passion for mentorship, she helps aspiring marketers navigate their careers while advising C-level executives on branding and leadership strategies. As a founder of Mad About Marketing Consulting, she specializes in content strategy, AI-driven marketing solutions, and investor connections for startups. A sought-after speaker at global conferences, Jasmine champions empathy, purpose, and passion in both her personal and professional life, consistently driving innovation and business success. That was a great introduction of Dr. Jasmine. So good luck.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the glorious introductions. I just want to check if everybody can see the slides. Or
So are you sharing your screen?
do you want me to share, or are you guys helping to share? I can share as well.
Okay, we will do from our side. I think you have already
Yeah.
sent your PPT to us.
Yes.
Yes. Just give us a few seconds.
Sure. Thank you. Cool. I think yeah, that's the slide. I don't have a lot of words on my slides usually, so that means that I hope that everybody is all ears to listen to my presentation. Yeah, I think if we can go to the second slide, I'll just do a quick self intro of myself. Thank you. Yeah, so just to clarify, right? I'm not a doctor in the traditional sense, nor am I like a yeah, I'm not a doctor. I was actually given or awarded the doctorate last year by this university that I was helping, and in recognition for my contributions to the marketing industry, for which I am extremely thankful. So just in case, yeah. First of all, really thank you for having me here. I'm very thankful to EDS Global Conference for inviting me to speak at this global event. As Shruti has mentioned, my name is Jaslyin, and in terms of my professional life, I'm actually the founder of my own marketing consultancy called Mad About Marketing Consulting. And in terms of my personal life, I'm married to a wonderful husband who's actually now overseas on a work trip in the Philippines. And he actually hopes that there's a replay for him to watch. He has been one of my biggest supporters as well throughout my journey. And I am also a proud paw parent of a dog. As you can see, there are two dogs. So there used to be two, but unfortunately, one of them passed away last year. So now I'm left with one, the French bulldog, the brindle one that my husband is holding on to. Yeah. So today I'm very happy to share with everybody my journey as well as my guiding principles in terms of leadership and people management, which I hope will be useful for those of you who are in your own pathways, exploring leadership as well as people management in your own terms. So we go to the next slide. Yeah. So if you ask me, right, when I was young, like, did I know that I always wanted to be in marketing? Not really. And did I always want to be a people manager? For sure, no. Like especially when I was in school, even into my university days, it wasn't really something that I thought that I would be doing as people manager. But in marketing, yes, once I started going to university, I make a conscious choice actually to choose marketing as my educational pathway. And then when I explore into masters, that's where then I started to consciously also pivot to acquiring people management skills as well as organizational management skills. But during the early days of my career, I never felt that I was ready, like to be a full-on people manager. But I was given a managerial role, to be honest, in my first two jobs. And that kind of like shook me in terms of my confidence. I didn't feel like I was ready. And I felt like I need to be right in everything. I needed to know everything before I can be a manager. And there were a lot of moments of self-doubt, especially when the people under my management. They were much older, much more experienced than me. And then when they started to leave the company under my management, I started to have a lot of self doubt and even more self blame. And I felt that I constantly needed to balance between being objective and being very respectful towards them, especially when they are more senior, but yet knowing how to disagree with them in a very tactful manner. And then, of course, to know how to course correct if they are making the wrong decisions. It is not easy for sure. And I had a few hard knocks along the way when they came to tell me that I'm just managing it wrong and like why like I'm just way too young to be a manager. So that definitely did not help with the confidence. But I took it as lessons. You know, every hard knock, I took it as a lesson learned, and that kind of helped to shape me as well, which I will share a little bit in more details. So if we move to the next slide. So definitely there were a lot of challenges faced, especially when I started going into the banking and finance environment. In my side of the world in Asia, banking and finance is very male dominated. If I can say bluntly, somewhat sexist environment. There are a lot of power plays involved, and there's a lot of male friendships, you know, where it's very hard for me as a woman to have a breakthrough or even to try to break into a conversation or make myself heard during meetings. I found that I needed to really shout sometimes, or I needed to even like wear certain clothes that I wasn't very comfortable with just to stand out, just to get their attention. But what to me is the worst thing is I also found that women sometimes are not really helpful as well in that kind of environment, maybe because of all the competition. They feel like they need to stand out amongst all the other women. So there have been cases for me during the early part of my career where I was backstabbed by other women, and some of them turned out to be my managers. So, and I ended up having to rely on male sponsors or mentors who actually saw the potential in me and what I was trying to do. And then I also learned the hard way that I cannot be too gullible, I shouldn't be too trusting, and more importantly, that do not need to feel like I need to really fit in with the boys and lose my sense of true self. So that actually I learned, ironically, from one of the male mentors, my career mentors that I work very closely with, and that was more like a elderly father figure to me, and he actually talked a lot of sense in me, and that really helped me, and helped to shape me in the way I am today. So I'm it's quite sad that it's not a woman who helped me in the early part of my career, but that made me even more determined to be a different type of leader, versus what the kind of women leaders that I had to deal with back then. Yeah. So moving to the next slide. So as mentioned, during that part of my career, I find that the more they try to discourage me or put me down, the more I try to fight back. Because there is always been this rebellious streak in me, and my parents know me the best. Like my father has always taught me to be somebody that's very principled, to be confident, to believe in myself no matter what happened. Even though my parents were not from a well-to-do family, they were not extremely well educated, but they always instilled in me a sense of pride, a sense of confidence that there is nothing that I cannot achieve as long as I put my faith, as long as I keep praying consistently for that breakthrough. So their lessons actually carried on, with me even during the darkest day of my life, my professional career. And ironically, it was also during the darkest moments of my personal life back then when I was going through a divorce, and then while dealing with all the politics from trying to climb the corporate career, when I suddenly had that breakthrough, it was almost like an awakening and a reminder for me, when I remember what my late father told me before he passed about his belief in me and what he knows that, what inspires me to do better, to be a better person. And that really woke me up. And then it made me really just bite the bullet and continue. I chose to leave the banking industry for a while. I chose to go into the consultancy world, and then that really helped me to meet the next set of really helpful career mentors and then continue to shape my journey as a people leader. And if we can move to the next slide.
Jaslyn, give me 1 minute.
Sure,
Some
no
technical
problem.
glitch.
Yeah.
Okay. We are working on it.
Thank you. Thanks for story. Yeah. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on this glass ceiling, which I think a lot of women um, are fairly familiar with. I did a little bit of research. It's quite disappointing, but till now, as of today, for every 100 men that is promoted, actually only 81 women is likely to receive the same promotion. And at the C-suite level, actually only 29% of women held these positions. And most are also not like a CEO or a CFO or a COO. You know, it's usually in roles like maybe HR, in marketing, what they consider as the soft skills, so that says a lot. And then now that I'm a business owner and I go on meetings, I go on trade shows or exhibitions or events, and sometimes my husband comes along with me and I put him to work as my business development person. But then when strangers look at us as a couple, they start talking to my husband first when we are at these events and when we introduce our business, because they automatically assume he's the CEO because he's white and he's a man. So I think there's like, to them it's double the chance that more likely that he is the CEO than me, right? An Asian, um, Chinese female. So to me that says a lot about the glass ceiling that still exists for women, that kind of unconscious bias that still exists till today. And that to me sums up a lot of the journey a lot of the obstacles and the hurdles that I faced during my early days, which I think still exists for a lot of the women today in their 20s, in their teens, and even in their 30s. So what can we do then? And why is it important, that everybody, regardless of whether you're male or female, your mid or older career, everybody has a responsibility to break this bias, to change the leadership style, to change your expectations towards the kind of leadership that you want. And I'll come to it in the next slide. Yeah. So actually, I think that there has been an evolution of leadership expectations, and it actually started during COVID, just before COVID, or maybe going into COVID, that people are looking at a more inclusive type of leadership. And why is that so? That's because we are looking at now a new generation. We are looking at not just the millennials, we are looking at the generation Z, we are looking at the generation Alpha. And these generation, they are no longer just blindly following whatever people say, whatever their elders say. There are changing expectations around the type of transparency, purposeful, and having like a purposeful kind of workplace culture that they appreciate. And it has also changed the way they want to receive information and the dynamics between a leader as well as a team. And I noticed this for sure in the last few years as more and more Gen Z joined the workforce. And I have more and more Gen Zs under my team in a few of my previous roles. And even now currently owning my own business, a large part of my fractional workforce is actually the younger millennials and the Gen Zs. They have very different perspectives towards leadership, very different perspectives towards what is a corporate role and what is corporate authority. They are asking more the why and the why nots, the challenging traditional boundaries. And ultimately, this leads me to conclude that respect is to be earned. It's not just given due to your seniority, due to your age, due to even your job title or even your pay scale. And leaders actually of today and for the next generation need to really walk the talk and also be very clear on the vision and the direction. It's not just about pandering to their needs and wants. It's also to lead very clearly and show that there is a pathway for them and that you're supportive of whatever decisions that they make, and help them and stand by them when they make those decisions, be it whether it's right or whether it's wrong. And in my next slide, I'll define a little bit more on that and why this is so. So I do notice that nowadays the younger generation, they no longer abide by the, oh, because I say so. And actually that started, for those who are parents, I'm sure you would have noticed, it starts from the parenting age, when they were being taught by their parents and what they were exposed to, be it on the media, on TV, on social media. They are very influenced right now by what's going on in media and social media and what's happening around the world. They are much more well read, they are much more well informed, and definitely more well traveled. Also, because thanks to the parents and the rise in affluence, they are being exposed to a lot more things and information than we were back in those days. So there is a stronger emphasis on leading by influence rather than leading by pure authority, and shifting from command and control to collaborative approaches. So that means emotional intelligence in leadership actually plays a very critical role. They look at how companies are treating their employees, they form their own judgment and opinions, and then they decide whether they want to really work with you as a people manager, they want to work with you in your company. While leaders with typically high IQ, they might get admiration or even fear. But it's leaders with high EQ as well that gets the respect and is seen as being more sustainable and authentic in terms of their leadership style. So let's go to the next slide. So I think as women leaders, and in the digital age, I think we need to be responsible in keeping up with the trends at our end. And we need to understand and appreciate as well that digital is not just a boys' playground anymore. There is a need for more females in technology, in science, in digital. There's a need to as well look at how we can use technology and digital platforms to help with our visibility as well as our influence, to help with building our own networks and communities. So I do encourage all women to embrace social and networking platforms, but on your own terms. Like, for example, I know as a female myself, as a business owner and an introvert, I hate networking. And when I get thrown into a mass networking event, I freeze and I turn into like a wallpaper almost. But then I've learned as well along the way to network based on my own terms, my own comfort level. So I start by looking for allies, people that I can connect with one on one. And then we start to then move on as a small group. And then we look to include other people who are similar position as us, and then we all form like a broader group. So from a small one-to-one, we grow our own group, and then we form a community. So I think the lesson here is really don't be afraid. We start small, but be brave, and focus on putting out your personal best. Let your quiet confidence shine through, but don't try so hard, don't abuse the platform. You don't have to like consistently always take like refeeds and selfies or without any context just because everybody else is doing it. There has to be a focus point. There has to be a reason why we're doing certain things. So focus more on developing your content, developing your quiet confidence, and then showing and demonstrating your EQ as well as your IQ through all these networking platforms. So just to round up a little bit, coming to my last slide. Yeah. So I think my few key takeaways for all aspiring women leaders, as well as some my personal leadership and philosophy distilled into so-called actionable advice, is actually to find your style, establish your style, and then fully own it. There's no right or wrong at the end of the day. Make sure that you're finding your voice, your niche, your critical thinking, and then slowly let your confidence shine through. But just don't forget that you should always stay true to yourself. Never sacrifice your integrity or your values or your principles. If you're saying something that you know that your parents or your loved ones that you respect is not going to be proud of, that means you're not on the right track. So to me, that has been like the core moral compass for me that has been guiding me all this while as I progress through the corporate level and into people management and leadership. Thank you.
That was fantastic presentation by Jaslyin. Your speaking style was so engaging and captivating. So we do have a lot of questions from the audience. So I have picked the right one for you. So here is the
Sure.
question. What is a personal branding mistake that even C-level executives often make?
Mm. What I've noticed is they tend to come off really aggressive at the onset. They feel like they need to be aggressive, right down to their body language when they first meet somebody or talk to somebody. Like, for example, the classic folding your arms, when you talk, even to no matter whether it's a junior person, it's a senior person, they always present themselves that way at the onset. I find that to me that is like a wrongful assertion of your personal style, a wrongful assertion of your authority, and actually you're more seen as being very defensive rather than being very open. So yeah. So try not to look too aggressive or be too aggressive in your approach at the onset. Unless you're trying to go to war. I mean, that's a different thing.
Thank you so much for answering the question. So thank you so much for joining the JT Virtual Summit 2025 and sharing your valuable presentation with the audience today. And please do
Thank you.
join our next speaker sessions as well and post your questions and introduce other speakers. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.